Hello people, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Expert says XRP gains value from utility, not burns. Okay guys, let's get into it. Okay, so thought I'd get into this topic because I think one, it's a good thing to discuss, and it's something I wanted to cover off as well in regards to when people think about the burn rate when it comes to XRP, because a lot of people think about how the burn rate will help kind of, really excel XRP's price. And so this is a conversation where they're discussing a part of that, but also just to cover off that kind of theory, and as to why I don't really think it's that accurate. So let's get into it. So a quick disclaimer here. Once again, I'm an XRP holder. I'm bullish on XRP, but I'm always here to give you the truth and what I believe is realistic about XRP. Okay, so first and foremost, we've got here, so far, only 0.014% of XRP has been burned in over a decade. So this came because basically people were talking about how, there's other networks, for example, like Shiba Inu, Terra Luna, that are doing a lot of burns because they're trying to make the asset more scarce and thus obviously increase its value. And so this was something where there was a bit of an argument with Bill Morgan, who's an attorney and was helping out the XRP community when we was going through the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit. And basically, the guy in question was basically saying, look at XRP's burn rate. It's been over a decade and it's only been this percentage from the supposed utility of XRP. So this is the thing that I want to say about this. This is what you've got to understand. The whole way that XRP was designed is so that even if XRP was more successful than their wildest dreams, like more successful than they ever could have imagined, it was designed so that the XRP ledger, even with the burn rate as it is, would last. I want to say it was something like 70 years. It was something crazy like that. Like, it's built to last a really long time, even if it was more successful than they ever could have dreamed of. So you've got to understand that the whole thing with the burn rate, it's not meant to be a thing of it being a mechanism to make XRP just go huge up in value. Now, it does make it more scarce over time, that is true. And obviously, the more utility that's happening, the more the burn rate will go up. But that's not really meant to be the overall theme as to why they do that. The main reason why they do it is to try and stop DDoS attacks. So what it is that if someone wanted to try and, spam the network, for example, because of the fees, it wouldn't be something that would be feasible for them to do. So it's actually more of like a security mechanism rather than a price mechanism, right? But obviously in time it does help because it's making the asset more scarce, and burning the supply slowly but surely. But yeah, this is something where Bill Morgan said, and I think this was a great response because, the guy was basically trying to mock XRP, saying how, our burn rate's so low, and this is based off of all the supposed utility that's going on with the XRP ledger, etc. And Bill Morgan said, look, XRP isn't a token where they're just burning the token just to try and increase the value. He said, any network that feel that having to keep just burning the supply to help increase the price by making the asset more scarce, it shows that it doesn't really have any utility. Because realistically, what should happen is the utility is significant enough that should excel the burn rate, right? Because if it's a network that's thriving and a lot of people are using it, well, XRP will constantly be being burnt because of the utility of the network. I think that was a great response. When you think of Shiba Inu, now I don't study Shiba Inu, so I'm not going to act like I'm fully aware of everything that's going on, but Shiba Inu was a meme coin. And it did very well, don't get me wrong. So I understand why some people have still got a very loyal following to it, because I remember when it came out, and I know somebody who could have put in, I think it was $10, and if they'd have put $10 in and it got to the peak of where it got to, Shiba Inu, I think it could have, that $10, I think it could have turned into, I want to say it was like 26k. So we're talking a lot of money, right? So I understand why people are obviously fond of Shiba Inu, but it's a meme coin, right? It came out as a meme coin. And so it's got no purpose. So when you're, mentioning certain networks that are doing this, like Terra Luna, don't get me wrong, Terra Luna was something that was good at the time, but it collapsed because it turned out to basically be a Ponzi scheme, right? So what they're doing now with Terra Luna is they're burning the coins because they're trying to somehow help get the price back to where it was, or at least back up to a more respectable figure than what it is now. So you got to understand, like, these are two coins that really don't have utility like that anymore. Well, Shiba Inu never did, but Terra Luna doesn't, right? Because a lot of people left the network after the collapse. And so this is where, like, when people keep talking about XRP, like, yeah, they're not going to do a burn because they're not just looking at a cheap way to try and boost up the price. And that doesn't always work anyway. And the case in point I'll use for that as an example is Stellar Lumens, right? XLM. They did a burn. I think, if I'm remembering rightly, they burnt like half of their supply. And it didn't do anything for the price, right? Because this is what people don't understand. Even if you burn half of the supply, if no one's using it, it's not going to make the asset more valuable anyway, right? So, like, let's just say, no one was using XRP. Let's just say it was just a dead token or a dead chain, whatever you want to call it. If you then burn half the supply, okay, cool, but if no one's using it, it's not going to increase the price. It's not going to make a difference. And so that's not me saying that that's about XLM, because I actually hold XLM as well. But what I'm saying is, you've got to add the demand in there as well to get the price increase, right? You can't just have just the burn rates and think that's just going to equal, a price increase. It's got to have the demand as well. It's supply and demand. So you can reduce the supply, but then you've got to have still demand there to help increase the price. And so, yeah, this is one of the reasons why I just wanted to also discuss, like, how some people think about the burn rate being something that will make XRP just go significantly higher in value. And that's just something I wanted to cover as well, because, a lot of people think that that's part of the whole thing of XRP getting to $10,000. That's not going to have that impact, guys, because, as I say, the way they've built the XRP ledger is so that even if XRP was to be hugely successful, it's not going to be a thing where it's going to impact them to that degree where the burn rate is going to kick in and make some huge dent on the price. I mean, if you look at now, this is over a decade and you've got 0.014% that's been used over a decade. Now, don't get me wrong, obviously we're not at a huge adoption phase yet, so I do think that can greatly increase once we get into, like, more utility based times, like when crypto is more widely adopted, like mass adopted. But I still don't think it's going to have, it's not going to increase to a percentage where it's like, oh, we can actually see a visible difference from the burn rate. Like, I don't think you're going to see visibly make a difference to the price. So yes, it could go up in percentage. So, like, maybe you go from like 0.014% up to like 0.1% or 2%, but I still don't think that's going to be enough to, greatly increase the price. So I think this was a great thing that, Bill Morgan said. I agree with him. Like, it's not going to be a thing where they're just going to try and burn the supply for XRP because, that's not just their goal with XRP, right? They want it to be a utilized network, and you shouldn't have to go to burn rates realistically. Like, if you believe in the network and what it's going to do, the utility should be enough to help drive value. You shouldn't need to keep doing these burns to try and increase the price. So yeah, I completely agree with Bill here, and I just thought I'd add my 2 cents to that, just in regards to, like, the burn rate being something that really contributes to XRP's price going up significantly. It's not going to make any kind of meaningful impact. It's just not, even if XRP was hugely successful. Yes, it helps it to continue to be a scarce asset in the sense of the supply is diminishing over time, but it's going to take many, many years before it gets to a point where the supply is, like, hugely impacted by the burn rate. Like, it's just not going to have that kind of impact right now. So I hope this has helped. But yeah, at the end of the day, I look to utility more than I do, like, things like burns. Like, I'm not here to think with XRP I need to see a burn for it to be successful. Because, as I said, even if you do that, you still need the demand there. So you still need XRP to be a successful network that everybody's using to help increase the price anyway. So it's not like you can just do the burn and then, oh, that's it, happy days, now the price is increased. That's not how it works. So it takes more than that either way. So we still need to get that adoption going and, huge use cases and stuff like that to make people want to use the network. So I hope this has helped with you guys understanding in regards to the burn rate. But yeah, to me, it's not something I would be looking at in regards to trying to get any kind of meaningful price action from XRP. Thank you very much for watching this. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that bell. Take care.